Prime Field.
What's good, Prime Field Nation? Welcome back to the only show that doesn't waste your time with fluff. You already know the score. UConn 94, Butler 47. Another blowout? Sure. But buried inside this annihilation is the answer to the only question that matters in December. Who can Geno trust when it's April and the game's on the line? Because here's what happened at Hinkle Fieldhouse on Saturday night. Butler didn't just lose. They ceased to exist for 10 minutes of basketball. A 27-0 run. Read that again. 27-0. Butler went 0 for 11 from the field, coughed up 10 turnovers, and spent 13 minutes and 43 seconds without a field goal. And that's not a drought, that's a desert. But this isn't about Butler's collapse. This is about who was on the floor when the lights went out. This is about reverse engineering Geno's brain and figuring out which freshmen just earned a seat at the March table, and which ones are still eating in the kiddie section. Tonight we're ranking the top 5 impacts from this game, counting down to the player who just became essential to the Final Four run. We're talking trust index scores, we're talking defensive efficiency, and we're talking about the specific moments where Geno's glare either froze someone solid or turned into a nod of approval. Now let's get into it. Kellis Fisher is the definition of chaos energy. When she's on the floor, something's about to happen. You just don't know if it's going to be a highlight or a head scratcher. Here's the wildest stat of the night. Fisher has a 28.5% usage rate. That's higher than most starters. She's touching the rock on nearly 3 out of every 10 possessions when she checks in. The problem? She's only averaging 3.7 points per game. That math doesn't math, fam. Against Butler, we saw the full spectrum. There were flashes, the burst to the rim, the pressure on the ball that gets under a point guard's skin. But then in the fourth quarter, with the game already over and the walk-ons warming up, Fisher coughs up a turnover at the 3 o'clock mark. In garbage time, when the only job is to not make Geno yell at you on film. And that's the problem. The preseason label was mistake-prone, and this game didn't erase it. Fisher is the kind of player who can blow open a 10-point game with 3 steals in 90 seconds. But she's also the kind of player who can blow up a 5-point lead in March with a reckless pass. Right now, Fisher is tier 2. Situational. She's your break glass in case of emergency weapon when you need someone to inject chaos into a stagnant second half. But during that 27-0 run, she wasn't on the floor. Kaylee Heckle was. And that tells you everything you need to know about where Fisher sits on the trust ladder. Game impact rating, 5.5. The athleticism is undeniable, but the decision-making is still on a short leash. Here's the thing about Gandandy Malu Mamml. She's 6'5". She's got size that most teams would kill for, and in 2 years she might be a problem. But right now she's a project. UConn won by 47 points. 47 points. The walk-ons played. The managers almost got subbed in. And yet, Malou-Mamel barely saw the floor. No points in the box score, no rebounds, no defensive stops worth mentioning. She's averaging 1.0 points per game on the season, which tells you she's still figuring out how fast this level moves. The issue is system fit. Geno's optimal pressure defense is built on speed, trapping, and flying around the court like your hair's on fire. That 27-0 run, fueled by transition buckets off turnovers. Malou-Mamel is still learning how to keep pace. She's built for half-court battles, not sprint drills. And look, there's nothing wrong with being a developmental piece. Every championship team has players who aren't ready yet. But for March 2026, Malou-Mamel is tier 3, developmental. Unless there is a catastrophic injury to the front court, she's not sniffing meaningful minutes in the tournament. The upside is real. The timeline is just 2027, not this year. Game impact rating 2.0 from 10. The raw potential exists, but the game readiness does not. This is where it gets interesting. Kaylee Heckle is a sophomore transfer, so technically not a freshman, but she's the reason the freshman can even function right now. 7 points, 3 rebounds, and the dagger three-pointer that made it 33, 10, and officially closed the coffin on Butler. But here's what doesn't show up in the box score. Continuity. When Geno subs out KK Arnold or AZ Fudd, the offense can't just collapse. Heckle is the safety valve. She handles the pressure, she spaces the floor, and most importantly, she communicates. When Blanca Quiñonez gets lost on a switch or when the freshmen are still figuring out rotations, Heckle is the one barking out assignments and keeping their defensive scheme intact. During the 27-0 run, Heckle was on the floor. That's not an accident. Geno trusted her to press full court for 10 straight minutes without fouling, without overhelping, and without breaking the system. And then, when Butler was gasping for air, she buried the three that made sure they stayed down. Heckle is the glue player every championship team needs. She's not going to average 15 points. She's not going to make the All-Big East team. But in a Final Four game, when Sarah Strong picks up her third foul with 12 minutes left in the second half, Heckle is the one checking in, and nobody on the bench is panicking. Game impact rating 8.0/10. She's the stabilizer who allows the chaos to work. Let's just say it. Blanca Kinyunes is the real deal. 12 points. 7 of them in the first quarter when the game was still competitive and Butler was still trying to hang around. And here's what that timing tells you. Quiñonez isn't a garbage time scorer. She's not padding stats when the lead is 40. She's delivering when it matters. The question coming into this game was, is Blanca Quiñonez already a Tier 1 bench asset? The answer is a resounding yes. She's not just Tier 1. She's the 6th starter. In a Final Four game, she's playing 20, 25 minutes, and she might close halves depending on the matchup. But it's not just the scoring. Quiñonez was integral to the 27-0 run. She was on the floor for the entire defensive lockdown, executing traps without fouling, rotating on switches, and then punishing Butler in transition. She scored 7 points in the first quarter by being a flamethrower from the corner, forcing the defense to scramble every time she touched the rock. Here's the edge she has over every other freshman: professional experience. Quiñonez played in Italy and for the Ecuadorian senior national team. She's already played against grown women in high-pressure environments. While other freshmen are adjusting to the speed, Quiñonez is already there. And the numbers back it up. She's averaging 10.3 points per game, which is double what Megan Walker, the number 1 recruit, was averaging at this point in the 2017-18 season. That's the kind of production that changes the ceiling of this team. Geno trusts her. The stats validate her. And on Saturday night, she proved that when the lights are brightest and the game's on the line, she's not flinching. Game impact rating, 10 from 10. She's the bench weapon that makes this team a championship contender. So what does all this mean for the next game? It means Geno knows his rotation now. That 27-0 run wasn't just a hot streak, it was a blueprint. The optimal pressure lineup is locked in. Arnold, Heckle, Fudd, Quiñonez, and Strong. That's your 5 when you need a kill shot. Blanca Quiñonez is no longer an experiment. She's the 6th man, and in March, she might be the reason UConn survives a tight Elite 8 game. Kaylee Heckle is the bridge that keeps everything running, and Kellis Fisher and Gandandy Malu Mamml, they're works in progress. The 13-0 start is real, but unlike the 2017-18 team that ran out of gas in overtime against Notre Dame, this team has depth. And depth is what wins championships when foul trouble hits or legs get tired in the Final Four. Butler got buried by 47 points, but the real story is this. UConn just figured out who they are in December, and that's terrifying for everyone else. Here's the question for the comments. At what point during the 27-0 run did you realize Butler had no chance? Was it when Quiñonez hit her second 3? When Butler missed their 10th straight shot? Or when Heckle buried the dagger to make it 33-10? Drop your take below and let's argue about it. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you even doing? Hit that button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you for the next breakdown. This is Prime Field. We don't do fluff, we do impact.
Prime Field.